Hi everyone, Nikos Bafitis here from sunny Cyprus, and welcome to today's tutorial. This is another past paper for the IGCSE ICT 0417 Cambridge examination. In particular, this is the June 2024 paper 2-1, and this paper is a doozy. If you were one of the students that had to sit this paper in 2024, then you probably had a little bit of a shock when you were doing the database section. Now, I say this because, as always, and as I tell you guys as well, before you start working on any of the questions, make sure you read through the whole section first so you get a good understanding of what it is you're going to be doing. It makes your life so much easier if you know what you're going to be doing beforehand. And that's what I do before I do any of these tutorials. I read through the paper. I spend about 5 minutes just going through the paper and getting a clear understanding on what I'm going to be doing. And there are some tricks in this paper. So if you're going to be doing this examination, I strongly recommend you watch this tutorial for the paper too. Okay, let's get started. Okay, first step is we're going to have a look at the question paper. And task one, well, the first section says make sure you have all of these files in your work area. Okay, so we've got these 2, 4, 6, 8 files. We just need to make sure that we have those files. I've got them in my folder here. I've created the folder June 2024 P21, and all my files are here, but I've also got the electronic version of the question paper as well. Next step, task one is the evidence document. We're going to be opening J2421 evidence.rtf. Make sure your name, center number, and candidate number will appear on every page of this document. It doesn't say where, so I'm just going to use the header. Save this document in your work area as evidence, followed by your candidate number, for example, evidence 9999. I'm just going to copy that just to save time. And then you will need your evidence document during. Okay, so first step, let's go make that evidence document. So I'm just going to quickly right click. Sorry, we're going to open up J2421, J2421 evidence, that one there. And I'm just going to enable editing, and I'm going to go to File, Save As. I always say Save As. And then from here, we're just going to go to Word Document. And we're going to change the name. Let's just make sure I don't have a space there. Yes, I did. And then I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 for my candidate number. Click on Save. And up here, I can see the correct file name and type. Good. Okay, next step. Task number 2, the document. Should zoom that in a little bit more. Okay, you're going to edit a document for Tawara Tots Childcare. The company uses a corporate house style for all their documents. Paragraph styles must be created and applied as instructed. Using a suitable software package, open the J2421 Childcare RTF. The page setup is set to A4, portrait orientation with 2 cm margins. Do not make any changes to these settings. So these have been preset for us. 3 paragraph styles have already been created. Do not make any changes to these unless instructed. Save the document in your work area with the name nursery. So we just need to open that and save it for now. Make sure it's saved in the format of the software you're using. Place in your evidence document screenshot to show the file has been saved. Okay, simple enough. So I'm going to open up this one here, the childcare one. I'm going to enable editing again. I'm going to go to File, Save As. Make that a Word document, and I'm going to just call that nursery. It doesn't need any of your details there, so I'm just going to click on Save. And then before I move ahead, I'm just going to check that these predefined settings they've said they've already done. I'm going to just check and make sure they're correct. So I'm going to go to the Layout, Page Setup. I can see I've got my 2 cm margins, top, left, bottom, and right. It's portrait, and the paper is A4, so that's all good. Let's check the styles as well. So here's my styles manager, and I can see these 3 styles have been created for me, and I'm not going to make any changes to that. So my first step is to go and create a screenshot to show that file there. So next time I'm just going to click on my snipping tool, and I'm going to take the whole thing here so that I can show also, here's my snipping tool here, I can also show at the same time the name of my folder here and here. Let's just undo that. And I'm going to put that in my evidence document. Again, I know I say this every video, but please don't use dark mode for your screenshots. I do repeat myself and again because some people are watching this video or this style of video tutorial for the very first time. So don't use dark mode because it doesn't print very well. And if you do use dark mode, check your printouts and make sure everything is readable. Okay, next step. Let's open up that nursery document and go back to our question paper. So we've done task 2, that first part. So place in the nursery document a right-aligned header on a single line, prospectus produced by, so I'm just going to copy that with a colon, followed by a space, then your name, center number, and candidate number, a left-aligned footer with automated page numbers. Make sure that all the header details are on a single line, all the alignments match the page margins, no other text or placeholders are included in the header or footer areas. The headers and footers are displayed on all pages. So, based on this, I'm going to explain while I'm doing this what that actually means about the placeholders as well. Okay, so let's begin. Let's go back to our document. I'm going to open up my header, and it wants a right-aligned header. Okay, now I can from here just go to home, choose right alignment and write my details up here. And that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to do that because I just want to explain what it means by placeholders. So a lot of you are probably using, when you're in the header and footer, you've got this header and footer margin at the top, you've got header, and a good practice is to use this one here, which gives you the 3 alignments, left, center, and right. And that just makes it really easy for you to add things in the different alignment tabs. So I'm just going to use that one for now. I'm going to type my details. Oh, sorry, it says prospectus produced by. Okay. What about your name, center number? CY12712334. Now, you can see this is taking 2 lines, but that's fine for now. I'm just, what this is a placeholder and that's a placeholder, and they don't want that. So if I was to print this like this, these will print, and these are the placeholders they don't want. So I'm just going to click there and delete that. I'm going to click here and delete that. Now, you can see my name with the prospectus produced by, it doesn't actually fit that nicely on a single line. So I can make that a bit smaller, makes it harder to read. So what I can do is just click here, delete, keep deleting, or backspace. So it goes left aligned, and then I can just say right align. Now, what the right align will do, it will just push everything over to the right. So if you are using those placeholders, there's 2 things you've learned now. The placeholder is at a fixed point. So if I just undo that, you can see the placeholders, you can see the little tab stops here. Okay, and that kind of pushes everything a bit further down, okay, across your the alignment to the right. So if I get rid of all of those and then just use the right align tab, that will align everything to the right. So a nice little tip for you there. Now at the bottom, I want a left aligned footer with automated page numbers. Again, I can click here. I can go to my header and footer, go to the page number and go to bottom of page, but I always use the current position. So I like setting up my alignment and just going current position and putting that page number. Okay, good. Now these take a little bit of practice, so it's good to play around with these. I'm going to double click in here. I'm going to zoom out, and I can see I've got my header and my page number on every single page. That's perfect. So next step, let's go back to the question paper. So I've done all of this. The headers and footers are displayed on all pages. They are with the margins, so that's good. Right, create and store the following style, basing it on the default normal paragraph style. This is extremely important. And they say this for your own sake, just to make things easier for you. So here is the style. Take a screenshot to show that you have defined the settings for TC title style. Make sure that there is evidence that you have based this on the default normal paragraph style. Place this in your evidence document. All right. So what does that mean? Well, and I've showed this in another video, and I'm going to show it again for those of you watching this for the first time. Your insertion point is this blinking line. which is right there, and it's just flashing away. Okay, now wherever your insertion point is, that's where changes will be added as soon as you make a change. So if now, for example, I was just to add a style, I can see this is the TC body. If I was to click on TC subhead, you can see it's going to apply it straight away to that paragraph where my insertion point is. And this is what happens when we create a new style. Wherever your insertion point is, it will apply that style to that paragraph immediately. So then you have to go back and add the original style. So I'm just going to click inside this first paragraph anywhere in here. And I'm going to make a note that this paragraph right now is using the TC body. And that will allow me to know what to take this paragraph back to once I've made my style. So with that said, I'm going to click on here, open my styles manager. From here, I'm going to add a new style. The style is going to be called TC title, TC minus sign title. Remember to keep the capital letters, small letters exactly the same. Now, here's where I'm going to base it on. It's saying TC body. It's basing this style on TC body because that's where my insertion point is. And your insertion point is the source of information. So you're creating a new style, and the new style is saying, your insertion point is in a font called TC body. So you probably want to base it on TC body. No, you don't. You want to base it on normal. Now, we want the font style to be a serif font. Serif fonts are the ones with the ticks, and we always use Times New Roman for that. The size of the font should be 32. Alignment is center aligned. Bold and italic. Single line spacing. So this single line spacing is already selected, but I always like to go from here as well. Just make sure. Format, paragraph. Make sure that single line spacing there. Space before paragraph is 0, so that is before is 0, and space after is 6. There we go. And I'm going to click on OK. Now you should be able to see absolutely everything you have done in this window because this is your screenshot window. And you can see, for example, the bold, italic, the single line spacing, center line, the font, the size, the spacing in this section here as well. Okay, so that's all good. We're going to take a screenshot. Now, wrong. I'm not going to create a screenshot now because this is still in the create new style. I haven't actually made this style yet. So I need to click on OK. Now check this out. Can you see automatically it has now just applied that style to the first paragraph? We don't want that. We want to click back to TC body. So this paragraph now is back to its correct style. But in my style manager, I can now see the TC title. There it is there. I'm now going to click on this little arrow, modify, and that's going to be my screenshot. You see here it says modify style. This means this style has been created, and now you're looking at its properties. Before it hadn't been created yet. There we go. I'm going to take that, and we're going to put this in my, I need to close that dialog box. So we need to close that, and then I can open up my evidence document and place that there. Now, I prefer big screenshots rather than tiddly screenshots, but let's just make that just a little bit smaller. It doesn't have to be massive. There you go. So I can have those two on one page. And then step 6 will go there. Quick save, go back, and then we're good. I'm just going to do a quick save here as well. Save. Okay, let's go back to our question paper. So we've finished with number 3. I hope I haven't missed anything out. That's 2 marks. Now, apply the TC title style to the title, text, Tawara Tots Childcare. And let's just read number 5 as well. Remember, you should have read all of this section, word section already in advance. Select the subheading style from the whole text after including the paragraph ending enjoy your new surroundings. Change the page layout so that only this text is displayed in 2 columns of equal width with a 1 centimeter space between the columns. Okay, so let's first do number 4. So we want just to select that text there. I don't even have to select the whole thing because it's seen as a paragraph, and just apply the TC title to that. There we go. Now, the next one said we're going to select from the subheading staff, which is that one there. Okay, so I'm just going to select a little bit from there. I don't need to select all of it. It's easy if you just click, or just click at the beginning of that, as long as you've got that the beginning point there. Then you're going to scroll down without holding anything, and I want to find the paragraph ending in their new surroundings. So I'm going to be looking at the end of all the paragraphs. Here it is. And now what I'm going to hold the shift button on my keyboard, and while I'm holding that shift button, now I'm going to click at the end of my selection, and that will select those 2 points. It just makes it so much easier. Let's just move the styles out the way there. All right, so I want to make this 2 columns, equal width, 1 centimeter space. So from here, we're going to go to our layout. We're going to go to columns, more columns. I'm going to choose 2 columns. I want equal column width for each one, so it will automatically adjust it, but I want a 1 centimeter space in between. Now, here's a little tip. If your regional settings are showing inches, that's fine. You don't know what 1 centimeter is, then all you have to do, without making any changes, just delete what you've got in there and type 1 and enter the units yourself, cm. So even if I wanted inches, for example, I could just put that inch symbol there, but I'm just going to put 1 cm. Click OK. There we go. This is now 2 columns, equal width. Perfect. Let's go back to the question paper. So number 4 and 5 is completed. Number 6, the style named TC subhead, that one there, has already been created, stored and applied to the 5 subheadings. Modify the TC subhead style so that it only the following formatting is applied. So we need to go and modify this this style here. Okay. Take screenshot evidence to show you have modified TC subhead style and the settings applied. Place this in your evidence document. So we need to make sure it's also been applied. All right, let's go back to our question paper. Sorry, to our document. We're going to go back to our styles. Home, here it is. So we want the TC subhead. We're going to click on the little arrow here. We're going to modify it. So the first thing it says, the name is TC subhead. That's correct. The font style is a sans serif. Sans serif is a font without the serif, without the ticks. So that's going to be Arial. The size of the font should be 14. I want alignment to be center aligned. So we're going to change that to center aligned. Now enhancement, italic, bold, all capitals. I want italic and bold, but I don't want underline. So I need to remove that one there. And I want all capitals. So format, font. And from here, we're going to choose all caps and click OK. Line spacing is single. So again, that is single line spacing already. Space before is 0, space after is 7. So if I go to format paragraph, I want space before is 0. And that should be 7. 7 points. And line spacing single, click OK. Now I finished editing this style, but I haven't saved it yet. So I need to click on OK. And we can see these styles here have changed. So what I'm going to do now, because it actually says that you need to show evidence that the style has been applied, I'm just going to click away here. I'm going to now go to modify this again, place my modification somewhere where I can see the modified styles, but I can also see the styles being applied in my document. Now, it's a bit harder for me because I've actually zoomed my screen in, so it's easier for you guys to follow. But I'm just going to take screenshot now, and I'm going to take that there. Okay, so that basically shows me this area here, which is all the properties, but I can also see the subheading being applied there. So that's going to be my evidence. I need to close that dialog box, go to here and put that there. Okay, and that should be good enough. Just going to make that just a little bit bigger, as big as I can there. And there we go. And that's clear enough for the examiner to see. Click Save, go back to my document, and I'm going to click Save again. Okay, next step. So we can see here, these are the settings which I applied, or the settings which I made sure were changed, and only these settings were applied. I've also applied this to my evidence document. Go to number 7. Apply a numbered list formatted as 1 to 7 to the text from communication and language to arts and design. Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? Because instead of saying a numbered, well, it says a numbered list formatted as 1 to 7. So that basically ain't saying it wants the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It doesn't want Roman numerals. So it's not just saying a specific, any random numbered list. From there to there, the numbers are aligned to the left margin. So let me just start highlighting these. Have to be to the left margin of the column. The list is in single line spacing with no space before or after each line. There is a 7-point space after the last item in the list. Okay, can you see, as I was saying, this paper has some little tricks in there. Okay, things that we haven't normally seen that often before. So here's my list here. I'm already here. So it's this item here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 7 items there. So that will give me a list from 1 to 7. The first step I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the home ribbon. I'm going to click on number and see what it gives me. So it's giving me the 1 to 7 number there. Let's see what else. Okay, that's good enough. That's a 1 to 7 list. Now, what else it wants is it has to be aligned to the left margin. So can you see this has got an indent? It's not aligned to the left margin. The left margin, if I was to do this, is at this point here. That's the left margin there. So what we want to do now is to select our list. Okay, we're going to go to home, just like we would format a paragraph. We're going to go to paragraph, and I'm going to say in left indent 0. Click OK. And that's now brought my list there. The other thing you can do is this. Always make sure you've got in the view area, you've got the ruler ticked up here, because that shows you the ruler. And if I select my list, I can actually see where my list begins from these little tabs. And I can take that little rectangle there and just drag it over there and just make sure, there you go, that's aligned to the left. Okay, that's a little bit more tricky, but if you do get stuck, that's a nice way of doing it. So I'm just going to take it back like this. So home, numbered list, paragraph, and 0 spacing, 0 indent. Click OK. All right, the next thing it said it wants single line spacing and no space before or after each line. So again, from paragraph, I want no spacing before or after, and I want single line spacing here. Click OK. There's my list. Great. And the last thing it said was make sure there's a 7-point space after the last item. So there's 2 ways of doing this. I can either click inside this paragraph here and put a 7-point space before, or I can click on this line here and put a 7-point space after. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's going to create a 7-point space between these 2 paragraphs here. So I'm just going to click on the last item there, go to paragraph, and on the after, I'm just going to change that to 7. Click OK, and there we go. Okay, does it say anything about evidence here? No, not at all. So let's just go to question paper. All right, so we're now on number 8. Import the image J2421 logo.jpg and place it in the paragraph beginning. We have 8 spacious playrooms. Rotate the image 180 degrees with the image size and aspect ratio maintained. So we want that. Format the image so that it is aligned to the right margin and top of the paragraph, starting, we have 8 spacious playrooms. The text wraps around the image. So our first task is to go and find that paragraph, which begins, we have 8 spacious. So, oh, here it is, right at the top, right there. Can you see it? So we want to put our image here, and we want to align that image on the left margin and the top of that paragraph, like that. So let's do that. So we're going to go to, with our insertion point here at the beginning of the paragraph, or you can put it anywhere you want, it doesn't really matter. Insert, we're going to go to pictures, this device. I'm just going to go to where I have my files. So I've got this on my desktop, that one there, and here is the picture. Now, first step, I want to rotate this 180 degrees. I can just take this rotation button here and just flip that round, and it clicks into 180. I can also, from my image, go and rotate this thing here. So you should have up here a rotate button. There it is. And I can go rotate 90 right and rotate 90 right again. Okay, 90, 180. Doesn't matter which. The next step is I want the text wrapping. I want the text to wrap around the picture, because if I put this down now, it's going to move all of the paragraph. So with my picture selected, I'm going to go to text wrap. I'm going to change that to tight, and automatically you can see my picture is now aligned. If I move my picture or just click on it and hold, you can see those green placement lines going around my picture. That means I'm on the top of that margin and on the left margin of the page. So that's absolutely perfect. Let's go back to our question paper. So we've done that. The text wraps around it. So number 9, locate the table in the document. Format the table so that the table width is set to 13 centimeters. Now this is new. I haven't seen something like this in a past paper, or at least I can't remember, where they tell you a specific size for the table. All the rows are set to 1 centimeter high. Again, haven't seen this one. If it has come up, it's been a long time. The data is center aligned vertically in each row. It doesn't say anything about horizontally. The table is centered within the page margins. Okay, so let's go find that table. So if we go down, here it is here. Okay, let's just zoom that in a little bit more and close these styles. So here's my table. So first of all, how do we select the table? When I just simply click and drag inside the table, all I'm doing is I'm selecting cells. If I select from here to here, I've only selected those 3 cells. If I click and drag all the way to the end, we can see this little gray tab at the end. Can you see that appearing? That means I have selected the row. So if I want to select the whole table, one method is I can click the first one, go all the way to the bottom, and just make sure I stretch out so I see these little tabs here. The easiest way, however, is simply click anywhere in the table and then choose that little tab in the top left corner. Click on that and you can see you have now selected the table, because it's the entire table I want to format. As soon as you click in the table or select the table, you're going to see the table design and the table layout ribbons at the top. Now, in the table layout, you can see you've got data, alignment, cell size. So this is everything to do with cell size. So I could change the height of my cells to 1 centimeter from here. I could do that like this. There you go. Oh, so that's already done. I'm just going to take that back, because I'd rather show you the dialog properties, because there's more options there, and if in case you get something new, you're going to be familiar with that interface. So then we've got merge, rows and columns, draw, and here we've got table, and we can see the table properties. So if I click on table properties, you can see I've got here the table tab. It says here preferred width, alignment, left, center, right. Okay, text wrapping, if you want the text to go around the table. Let me show you what that does. If I click on that, can you see how the text now wraps around that table? So it's good to play around with the different options in the dialog box, because in the next paper they might ask for something new, and you will be familiar with this. So I want a preferred width. I want that to be 13 centimeters. So I'm going to put the units there as well. And it says measuring centimeters or percent. And I'm going to click on OK. And look at that. My table now is 13 centimeters. It also says not going in that particular order, but we can. So if I go to the properties again, the cell height or each row has to be 1 centimeter. So I could go to the row, specify the height to be 1 centimeter. And here is this row height is at least. No, I'm going to want it exactly. So if you don't change that, probably won't make a difference. But this makes it exactly 1 centimeter. Click OK. There we go. The next thing it wanted was the alignment of the text to be vertically, aligned vertically. And that we can see up here in the alignment tab here. So this is aligned to the top. You can see all the text is aligned to the top of that cell. So let's just select those. I want those to go in the center. Now, it didn't say whether to put them to left and center vertically. So it doesn't say about the left, the middle, or the right, but I would leave it as it was. And it was already aligned to the center, so I'm not going to touch it. And then finally, it wants the table to be aligned to the middle of your page. So to do this, I need to select the table, because right now I've only got the cells selected, and any alignment will only affect the contents of the cells. So I'm going to click on my table to select the table. There are the tabs. Two ways of doing this. You can go to home and click on the center, and that will center it. Let's just put that back. Or again, from the table layout, if you go to the properties, you can go from here. Let's have a look. Table, there it is, center align. Click OK. So you can do everything you want from this dialog box. There we go. That's the table. Let's go back and see what else it wants. So that's number 9. It then says spell check and proofread the document. Make sure that the list and table are not split over columns or pages. There are no widows or orphans. There are no blank pages. The original styles are maintained except TC subhead style changed in step 6. All styles are applied consistently. Spacing is consistent between all items. So let's just go do a quick proofread. So proofread, I'm not going to read the document. I'm just going to see where I've got any spelling mistakes in there, grammatical mistakes. So that result there is not an issue. I'm not going to bother with the commas. They're not going to look at your grammar. I don't like this line here. That's kind of like a widow, because that line is just one line and the rest of the paragraph is down here. So I'm just going to click here, press enter to bring that down. Okay, my list is not split over columns. There's my list. That looks good. My table is not split, and everything else looks nice and solid. So if I do that in 2 pages, that looks really neat. So the next step is I'm just going to go to File, Save. Or I could just click the Save button, and it says Save the document, use the print the document. So the last step will be File, Print, and you would choose your appropriate printer. I just use a PDF. But you simply print it. And once you get your printout, guys, the next thing that you want to do is to look at it and make sure it looks correct. Make sure everything is readable. Make sure everything is clear. Set it aside. At the end of the exam, what you're going to do, if you've got time, you're going to put the question paper away. You're going to close the screen. You're just going to take the question paper and your printouts, read through the questions, and everything that is asked you to do, you should be able to find on the printouts, not the software. Okay, that's how you find your mistakes. Okay, that section is done. We can now move on to the database. Let's get started. It says here you're now going to prepare a report. Dates are to be imported in the format day, month, year, so DMY format. Use database software to import the file that as a new table. These are the field names and data types. So, okay, these are all text. They look pretty simple. The DOB has to be date, time, day, month, year. Well, I'm just going to highlight those because I need to come back to those. The food allergy needs to display as yes, no. So it's Boolean. So I don't want true, false, -1 or 0. I want it to say yes, no. These are text, and set the child ID as the primary key. Save the data. Place in your evidence document a screenshot showing the field names, data types, and primary key. All right, so I've just read that whole section there. Pretty straightforward, so I'm going to get started. So first step is in my working folder, I'm just going to right click, new. I'm going to start a new Access database. And there we go. We've got a new blank database. First step, we're going to import. So we're going to go to external data, new data source, from file, text file. From here, we're going to browse, and we're going to go and find our file that we want. So that file is going to be J2421 child, J2421 child, double click on that. Now, because there are no tables in this database at all, on this section here on the left, you can see there are no tables. I only get two options. And that's fine. I'm only saying this because there have been, what we're going to see when we're going to import the next table, that we're going to have three options. And that's basically because there are two ways to import data. The one method is you import the data and create a new table from the data. The other method is you already have a table and you want to import new data into that table. So you don't want to create a new table, you want to append it to a new table, to an existing table. And this has been asked for in the past. So anyway, here is my file. I do want this to be a new table in the current database. I'm going to click on OK. Next step, I'm going to go just make sure I can see all of this text. Make sure that text is readable. If you're getting a whole load of garbage that you can't read, and the different symbols and this, that, the other, I've shown this before, then if you're not sure, just raise your hand and your teacher or whoever's there will just check and make sure your file is not corrupt. So the data here should be readable. I'm going to go to next. I'm going to be creating a new table from this data. So tables need column headings, or what we call fields. So first row contains field names. And we can now see this looks like a table. Great. I can go to next. And this next part is all about giving the data types to those fields. So I'm going to go to advanced. Now you can do this by going to each one manually and setting it up with short text and so forth. I prefer the advanced method because it looks very similar to what you're given in the question paper. You can see it in the table format. Okay, so I'd rather do that. So last name, first name, child ID, and gender. These are all text, and we can see these are small pieces of text. So I only need short text. So these are correct. That one, that one, that one, and that one. You only need long text if the amount of characters that are going to be saved are more than 256. So then date of birth is a date time. Yes, it is. Date, and then reg date as well. Food allergy should be Boolean logical. So I'm just going to change that to yes, no. And the rest should be text, text. And the contact number should also be text. Now, you always make, let's click on OK. The contact number, although it is a number, it's not an actual number. It's a telephone number. And telephone numbers begin with a 0. They could have a plus sign because it's an international code. So we never save telephone numbers as numbers. We save them as text. You only save things as numbers if you're going to use that numerical data as a number. Okay, something that you can carry out mathematical calculations with. All right, go to next. Do I want the primary key? Yes, I do. That's going to be the child ID. Next, and finish. And we can see here now that this has given me one table. Look at the symbol, look at that little logo of that table, and there's only one table. If you get two tables and one of them has the word errors, or you get a table which has an arrow on that little icon there, or something like that, you've done it wrong. There's no point trying to figure out what you have done wrong. Delete it and do it again. If, however, you do get an error, and you get a table that says error, it's a good idea to open it and see what exactly the error is. So usually what you're doing is you have nominated a field which is text, like first name, and you said it's a number, and it can't put that text in a field with a number. So you should see in that table information that the problem is with the first name. Okay, so that's something you will look at when you import it again. But at the end of the day, you have to delete all the tables and import it again. Okay, good. Let's just open this up, make sure it's fine. There it is. So we can see here, these are checkboxes. I don't want that. Next step is I'm going to select this table, go to home. Let's just open it first, sorry. Go to the home menu and go to design view. And now we can do the other bits and bobs that we need to do. So these are short text, that's fine. This is date and time. Now the date and time, it said it wanted the format as a day, month, year. So day, month, year is going to be this short date here. Okay, and I want to do the same with that one. So I'm going to go to Format, Short Date. I'm going to do a quick save and just preview, and there you go. I've got my short dates there, day, month, year. Go back to Design View, and then the next thing I want to do is to make sure that the food allergy is yes, no. So that's a Boolean, but if I go to the format, I need to make that into a yes, no, and then the lookup, it shouldn't be a checkbox, it should be a text box. So I'm going to quick save, preview, and there you go. My food allergy now has got yes and no in there. Okay, let's jump over here now. So I've done all of this. I don't think I've missed anything, but if I have, as always, guys, if you see that I've missed it, it's really hard to be doing a tutorial and focusing at the same time. Remember, I'm doing this again for the first time, this paper. Right, so save the data. We've done that. Now, place in your evidence document a screenshot showing the field names, data types, and primary key. All right, so I need to go and do that now. So I'm just going to go to Design View, and I'm going to take a quick screenshot. Now, what's important in this screenshot is this. You need to make sure the table name is visible. That's very important, and you need to make sure that little key there is visible, because that indicates the primary key. Okay. All right, so let's just go over here and add that in number 11. Okay, great. There's my screenshot. Nice and clear. Okay, now I can close that table. Let's go to the question paper. Okay, so the next part is import the file j2421bookings.csv as a new table in your database. Use these field names and data types and create a primary key field called ID. Now, this is new. Check this out. So you're going to use these field names here that you've got in this table here. Okay. And then you need to create a new field, which is going to be the primary key field, and it's going to be called ID. So placing your evidence document, a screenshot showing the field names. Now here again, this is date time, but I want hours and minutes here, and then the rest are text. So let's go and import that table. Okay, so we're going to go to external, new data source, from file, text file. You can see now we have these three options. Now, because I've already imported the table J2421 child, this one up here, then it may be that I want to add more data. So I've got a CSV file which has data, and I want to add that information into that table. This is why you get that third option. But in this particular case, you want just to create a new table again. So I'm going to go to Browse. I want J2421 bookings, that one there. Click OK. Again, make sure this information here is readable. If not, raise your hand. Go to Next. The first row contains field names. Yes, because I'm creating a new table from this data. And then we're going to go to Advanced after clicking Next. So this is where we modify the data types. And I want short text, short text, short text. I can see it's short text because these three columns, session ID, child ID, and day, they both have data which is less than 256 characters. This is date with time, and that's short text. Click OK. I'm going to go to Next. Now, here's the primary key. Now, normally we go here and we add the primary key. It tells us, but in this case, it wants us to add the primary key. Okay, and as soon as we select this, we can see this column here. It creates a new column called ID for you, and it just adds numbers in this. So that's the one we want. Click on Next, and then Finish. Close, and now I can open up my bookings from here. Now then, if it wanted a new field with a primary key and it was called, I don't know, say ID num, then we could just modify that by going to Design View and changing that to ID num and saving. That's fine. But they just wanted it as the default ID. Now, the only things that we need to check here is the date and time. So if we look here, we want to go to the format and we want a long, oh, we're going to go for a short time. Hours, hours, minutes, minutes, it says. So 2 for the hours, 2 for the minutes. So that's going to be a short time. And the same with this one. Format, that one there. And then it says place in your evidence document a screenshot showing the field names, data types, and primary key field. So what I'm going to do next is this. I'm just going to, how am I going to do this? I'm going to take my screenshot. And with one of these dates and times selected, now you don't have to do this. You can do your screenshot just like this, making sure that that there is visible and making sure that primary key there is visible. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to, because I'm really confident about what I'm doing, I'm going to select this. And what this is simply saying is that I've got this date and time here selected, and they can see that I've changed it to a short date as well. Now, you won't get any marks. It just helps you when you're looking over your evidence document at the end of the examination. If you've got time, you're going through the question paper, that you actually did do the formatting for that date and time to be a short time. So all of that information is there, the name, the key, and everything. We're going to go add that as number 12. There we go. Just make that a bit smaller, a little bit big. And that number 12, let's see if I can make this. I'm just going to move. There you go. Just to make, save a bit of paper, I suppose. There we go. Move that down. Good. Quick save. Okay, next step. So we've imported that as well. Now, create a one-to-many relationship between the child ID fields in the child and bookings tables. Place in your evidence document a screenshot showing the one-to-many relationship between the tables. So let's go back. Did I miss a screenshot? Because from what I can see here, I did. Oh, no, that's number. No. Ah, okay. No, that's not a problem. So what I did was this second screenshot here of my table, that should have been continuation of 11. So let me just do that now. So this screenshot here, cut that, that should be in 11, like that. And then number 12, it says, is going to be, there you go, the relationships. Okay, so let's go back. So I can close that table now, save yes, create, database tools, relationships. Now, you're going to get in the new versions of Word, you're going to see these relationships that already exist in here. It's just something that Access does to make searching easier and faster. We're just going to scroll down a bit. We don't want to see those. I'm going to right click. If you can't see the tables, you can right click show table. I'm going to add both the tables. I'm going to expand them so all of their fields are visible. And I simply want to connect the child ID. So I'm going to click on this one and drag it on top of the child ID. It shows me the creation here. Now, I haven't actually created this yet because it's still got the word create. So I cannot use this as a screenshot. I'm going to click on create. There is my relationship there. Just do that. You can see that little line there, just a bit easier to see now. Okay, that link there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on that line, so it's selected, and then double click, bring this here, and I'm going to use this here as my evidence, like that. Now, you could use just this table as your evidence. You could just use this as your evidence, but that's more risky because it's hard for them to see where the relationship is. So I prefer putting both of these there, going to my evidence and adding my screenshot there. Okay, good. Click save on the evidence and go back and click OK. And now I can close that, save it, yes, go back to our question paper. Okay, so we're now starting with the query and the report. And so the first thing that we need to do is to read all of this section here, number 13, because we need to get a good understanding of what we're going to be doing. So using the fields from the child and bookings tables, produce a tabular report that. So we're creating a tabular report. We're not going to be creating labels. Selects the records where day is Monday. So that's important. Session is morning or sunrise club. So we're going to have an or statement. Contains a new field called total time, which is calculated at runtime, and total time actually equals to end time minus start time times 24. Okay. Format this field to display as numeric value to 1 decimal place. And then it says show only the fields child ID, first name, last name. That's where I'm going to start from. That's where I'm going to start from. This one here. I'm going to go and add all of these fields first. And that's just going to make it a bit easier for me. Okay, so I'm just going to go and add all of these here first, because it says in this order. Then sorts the data into descending order of session and ascending order of DOB. So we want descending order of session, ascending order of DOB. Now I'm going to show you quickly two methods on how you should go about this, because one way or another you're going to be modifying that report, and you're going to see that in a short while. Has a page orientation landscape, fits on a single page width, includes only the title that, displayed in a larger font size, fully visible and center aligned at the top of the page, has your name, center number, and candidate number in the footer of the report so that it appears in the same position on every page. Save and print the report. And then you're going to create the data entry. So we're just going to do this part here first, the 13th, the first initial part there. I don't see that data entry form having any marks there. Oh, wow. That's interesting. All right, so let's have a look. So we're going to go do that report first. So from here, what we're going to do, we're going to go to create. Now we have to create a query before we create a report. So query design view, just close all of that. I want to add my two tables, that one. So if you don't see the tables, you can go again from here and you can see the table, show table, double click, and that's going to add the two tables for your query. There you go. Just bring that up. And I can close that bit there just to make a bit more space. All right, so next step, I want to go and add, as I said, I'm not going to start with the criteria and this, that, the other. First, I'm going to go and add what it says. So the first one says, shows only the fields child ID, because I want these in order, child ID. Now, I do get the question sometimes, where do I get the child ID from? This one or this one? Well, it doesn't really matter, but what I do, I go and look at all the fields I have to add and find the table which has most of those fields and use that table, and then only use information from the other table which is not in this first table. So you're going to see what I mean now. So here I've got child ID. Then I want first name, last name, DOB, day and session, DOB. So day isn't here, so I'm going to come over here and add it from here. And then session. The session, not the ID. This one here. Then start time. Start time is there. End time. Then it wants total time and then the food allergy. So now I'm going to go and create this thing here, which is the total time. Can you see this one? I'm going to create that one because it wants total time here first, and then to add the food allergy. So I want to do this in order. So this is the end time minus start time in brackets multiplied by 24. So I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to right click in that top cell there, build, and now I want to find where my start time and end time is. So that's going to be my database in the tables. Here are the two tables. Now the start and end time are in the bookings table. I can see that there. So I'm going to click on bookings. I'm going to now start my formula. So I'm going to type brackets, open the brackets, double click on end time minus start time, close the brackets, multiply, that's asterisk, by 24, and click on OK. Now that I've done something here, I'm just going to run this query, make sure I'm not getting any errors. So click on run. There you go. I'm getting that there. It's actually called expr1. I can now delete the expr1, but I'm not going to delete the colon, the two dots. And I'm going to call that total underscore time. First letter capitalized. And then finally, I want to add, no, let's do the format as well. I'm going to right click here, properties, and I'm going to change the format to fixed. Actually, I'll just show you before I make it fixed. If I just make the one here, make it one decimal place, and then run this, you can see some of these have got a decimal place, some don't. So all the ones which is 5.0, it's not adding the 0. So you won't get the mark. You want one decimal place. So if I make this format as fixed, one decimal place, now you will see you get that 0.0 there. So this is now all my numbers with one decimal place. So I've now finished with that total time. The next one is I want to add food allergy disorder. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to go to food allergy. There we go. So I've added everything it wants me to add and I've added it in order. Okay, so now what I want to do is to go and add the criteria. So if we look at our question paper, what it wanted us to do was to make sure day is Monday and session is morning or sunrise club. So let's go over here. We're going to go to day. Let's just double check. Let's run this and see the data. So we can see day are the days of the week. And then we've got the, what's that? The session is morning sunrise club. All right. So we want day and session. So under day, I'm just going to put Monday. Let's run that. And now we should only see here only Monday. Perfect. Under session, I'm going to do this one by one. So I'm just going to put the first one, which is morning. Let's run that. So that's only Monday and morning, but I want morning or. So we're going to do morning or. Doesn't have to be capital letters. In fact, I'll do it small and it's going to change it for you. Sunrise club. Now you could put this in speech marks, but it does it for you automatically. Sunrise club, and you need to make sure your spelling is correct. Otherwise, you're going to get errors. It's not going to return those results. As soon as I click away, you can see it actually automatically identifies that or as a logical statement and puts the text in speech marks. Let's run this, and there we go. Or the day for Monday, and session is morning or sunrise club only. Okay, great. So I can now save that. I've already saved it as a question 13. So I always save my queries with the question number. So we can close that. And now go back to our question paper. Okay, so the next thing is we want to do the sorting. Now we're going to do the report. So I've done all of that. Descending order of session, ascending order of DOB, landscape, single page wide, and with that title. Okay, so let's go back. So the next thing we're going to do the report. I'm going to go to create, report wizard. I'm already on the query 13 here, so you can make sure you've got the right query selected, and you're going to add everything in. And you will see everything now is in the order that you've added them into your query, and that's what we want. We're going to go to next. Now, next, it says it doesn't want any grouping. Now, you've got two tables. You need to base it on the table which is not going to apply grouping, and that's this one here. You see there's no grouping here. If I click this one, you can see it's going to have the child ID, first name, last name, DOB, food allergy, and then underneath it's going to have the other things, and that's grouping. So you're going to choose the one which doesn't offer any grouping, and that's this one here. Next, it asks you if you want to add any manual grouping. That would look like this. So let's say I went on day. You can see it will have the day, let's say Monday, and then all the information of all those records, and then Tuesday, all that information. So we don't want grouping. We get rid of that as well. Next. Now, here, I'm going to show you very quickly what I mean about the ascending and the descending, or the sorting of the data. If I was to do the sorting of the data here, so it basically wants descending order of session and ascending order of DOB. If I just click on finish now, what you're going to see is that the first two columns is session and DOB. So now the order of my fields have been jumbled up. They've been jumbled up because the two which we're sorting on have been brought to the front. and that's not what we want. So we're going to have to go from here, and this is where we will modify all of this and start shuffling all of these things over, okay, so we can bring and put everything in the right order again, something like this. So we'll have this and then bring these two over here and just make sure everything is in the right place, and then we need to space everything. That can get a little bit tiresome, okay, but in either case you're going to have to do some of this the other method as well. So that's the one way. I'm not going to use that method, so I'm just going to delete that report, and I'm just going to do this again quickly. This is the other way of doing it. So I'm going to go to Create, I'm going to go to Report Wizard, choose my query. Be very careful you choose the right one. Add everything. Next. I don't want any grouping. I don't want any manual grouping. I am not going to do the sorting here. I'm just going to go to Next. I want this to be landscape. Okay, that's what it says, landscape. Tabular. Next. And I can put my title in from here. You don't have to, but you can. I'm just going to copy paste it from the PDF. Okay, and then just go to finish to preview my report. And now you can see that the sorting of my fields has not been compromised. So I don't have to shuffle them around, but I still have to do the sizing because a lot of my data is being chopped off. So I'm just going to click on close. And then the other thing that we notice here is the sorting hasn't been applied yet. So I'm going to show you how we're going to add the sorting as well. So the first step is, let's get the sorting out of the way. With my, while I'm in this area here, the design view, at the top in report design, I'm going to go to group and sort. That opens this little toolbar at the bottom. So I want to add a sort. Click on that, and the first sort I want is descending order of session. Now here it says sort by session with A on top. Well, when I'm going from A to Z, that's ascending. Okay, so if you think of the letter A as 1, and then B is 2, then C is 3, so we're going ascending order, 1, 2, 3, 4. We want the descending, so we want from Z on top. The second level sort, and that's this one here, we're going to add another second level sort. We want this on date of birth, and it wants it in ascending order. So if you think about ascending, if we start from the year 2000, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, I need to start with the oldest year first. So if I look here, data from oldest to newest, that's correct, because it's going to be ascending, going downwards, increasing the years you go downwards. Now, if I preview that now, I can't actually see the date because I need to expand it here, but I can actually see the, what was it, the session. There you go. It goes from Sunrise Club and then morning. So from S to M, that's descending. Okay, and we're going to see the DOB in a minute. So let's go back to design view. And now we need to adjust all of these to make sure everything is visible. So I just draw a box over both the label and the data, adjust it. Every time I make an adjustment, I go and view that nothing's been chopped off. Then I do the next one. So I'm going to drag the first name over, squish that, and then check it and make sure nothing's been cut off. I'm going to do the rest of these as well. I'm just going to fast forward this for you so you can see what I'm doing, but it'll just be fast forwarded. And you can notice that as every time I make a change, I will go back and make sure that that column has got nothing cut off. Okay, this is the last one. And let's do a final check and make sure nothing is cut off. No words are cut off. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. Make sure those names haven't been cut off. And everything looks good. Okay, so that's my report. I've done the sorting. So descending order of session, ascending order of DOB, everything is visible. It's landscape, fits on a single page wide, includes only the Monday morning groups at the top. There it is up here. Displayed in a larger font size, fully visible and center aligned at the top of the page. Oh, I nearly missed that one. So for the center align, I'm going to click up here the label. I'm just going to drag the placeholder all the way to the end so that the placeholder is from the left to the right. And then if I go to home, I can now just center align it in that placeholder. And that way, instead of just dragging it and approximating, I know it's center aligned. Okay, let's see what else it says here. So center align at the top of the page there. And has your name, center number, and candidate number in the footer of the report so that it appears in the same position on every page. So it doesn't tell you whether it's going to be in the page footer or the report footer. It actually makes you think it's in the report footer because it says footer of the report. But that's kind of wrong because if it wants your details displayed on every page, it has to be in the page footer. The report footer will only appear one time at the end of the report. So where I've got my page footer here, I'm just going to, and I want this in the same position. It doesn't say where. So I'm just going to get rid of these placeholders in the page footer here. I'm going to go to report design. I'm going to add a label. I'm just going to put this on the left hand side. I'm going to add my details there. One, two, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I hope I haven't left anything out. So it's really hard going backwards and forwards on multiple screens, doing a tutorial, working at the same time, because I kind of distract myself. So let's just do a quick. So includes only the title Monday, center around top of the page. Okay, save and print your report. So from here, we can go from here, go to normal view. We can go to save. I'm just going to, there you go, it saved it there. And now if I go to Control P, I can actually, let's go to File, Print Preview first. Always preview your work. So print preview, make sure it's landscape, nothing is being cut off. Your details are at the bottom. If I go to page number 2, my details are at the bottom. Everything is there. So I can now just go to print. Ah, look at that. Can you see that little start time right there? It's cutting off that S just ever so slightly. You probably won't lose a mark for that, but I'm a little bit fiddly with it. So I'm just going to go to design and I'm just going to get that. Just make that just a little bit bigger. There you go. And let's see what that looks like. That's better. So nothing is being cut off. Okay, so you have to be very, very meticulous. I personally, as an examiner or as a teacher, I will drop you the mark for that. So save on that, and then you go to File, Print. Just do another print preview in case that's messed anything up. No, it hasn't. Page 2. Everything looks good. Good. That's that report finished. Wow. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Okay, now this thing here, this is weird. This has got me a little bit confused because this is giving you 11 marks for that report. Then in italics, this thing here, it's telling you you're now going to create a data entry form. The form will contain radio buttons for the user to select one option. Data from the selected option must be stored in a new field that you will create in the child table. Okay, so it's just telling you you're going to be creating a data entry form, and in that form you're going to have to create radio buttons or options, and you will decide they must be stored in a new field that you will create in the child table. So you're going to have to create a new field in the table first. You see how confusing this paper is? So those that sat this exam, this is going to be a bit tricky. So this is just giving you like a pre-information on what you're going to be doing. So make sure you read that carefully. So let's start. Number 4, insert a new field in the child table called ailment ID, which will be used to store data from radio buttons. Set the most appropriate data type. And that is a nasty question, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Cambridge have decided to be really, really mean with you. Okay, it's only 1 mark, but that's not nice. So let me just explain what that does. I'm just going to open my Word document, just go to the ink. I'm just going to add some pages at the bottom just so I can use the inking ability here. So when you actually create a radio buttons, what it does, you get something like this. So you get these radio buttons here. And let's say you're storing here, let's say food, milk, eggs, butter, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's just leave that with 3 items there. These things here, these are just labels. They mean nothing. So milk, eggs, butter, they have no meaning. That is not stored. It doesn't store the text milk, eggs, butter. What it does store is the numerical value given to each one of these. And usually this is an incrementing number. So 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So if you were to choose, let's say, eggs, what it will store in the field which you have, what's the field? So it's going to be called ailment ID, they said. In that column there, what it's going to store is just the number. So here it will store number 2. If you were to choose butter, for the next record, it will be a 3. If that's the number 2, and then that's the number 1. So this is milk, that's eggs, that's butter, that's eggs. So essentially what you're storing are numbers. So when you're going to create your new field in that child table, you're going to set it as a data type called, or data type number, whole number. So I'm just going to get rid of all that because this is my evidence document. Okay. So let's go and do that now. So from here, I'm going to open up my child table. I'm going to go to design view. I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to call this ailment underscore ID capital letters. And for the data type, I'm going to be storing a number. Now, the number type, it doesn't have to be a long integer. Long integers are for numbers over 36,000 plus and minus 36,000. I'm just going to use a short integer or just an integer like that. So click on save, and I have now created that. So what does the question paper say? It says create that field, ailment ID, which will be used to store the data from radio buttons, set the most appropriate data type, placing your evidence document a screenshot showing the field names and data types used in this child table. Save and close the table. So now I'm going to take a screenshot of that. And that basically shows that I've made that ailment ID and I've given it that data type, and that goes in number 14. Okay, and then we can bring that one down. Save. Okay, so I've done that. Save and close the table, and I've done my right. Create a columnar data entry form using selected fields from the child table that includes only the fields last name, first name, child ID, gender, DOB, reg date, and food allergy. Okay. Displays one record at a time. Placing your evidence document a screenshot showing your form with a record from the database display. That's 2 marks. So this is going to be very straightforward. So these are 2 good marks here. So I can close my table now. And now I'm going to go to create. You see what I'm saying at the beginning of this tutorial? This is a tricky paper. We're going to create the form wizard. We're going to create that form wizard on the child table. And we're going to only include last name, first name. So I'm simply double clicking, child ID, gender, DOB, reg date, and food allergy. So I only want these ones here. Go to next. This is columnar. So it said a columnar data entry. And let's open, modify the right, finish. So here is my columnar data entry, my field names, everything is here. I've got a record from, let's say to change the title, I've got a record from the database. I can take a screenshot of that. So that's just my screenshot for number 15. 2 easy marks there. Great. So that's my form. Let's go to number 16. Save, close. And now we can go to this one. So we've done number 15. 16. In the form created in step 15, create 5 grouped radio buttons. So that's what I showed you just before with that annotation. The user must be able to select one of the following options: asthma, diabetes, eczema, epilepsy, none. The options selected must be stored and displayed in the ailment ID field of the child table. Label this option group ailment. Make sure that the radio buttons are grouped as one option group with the label ailment. The option selected is stored in the ailment ID field of the child table. All labels in the form are aligned to the left consistently and do not overlap other data in the form. Okay, so let's go and do this now. Let's minimize that. So the next step is I need to modify my form, and I need to put a group, an option group radio button somewhere on my form, and I need to make it quite neat. So I'm just going to go to the design view. I'm going to select all of these text boxes here because they're really big for the data they're holding. And I'm simply going to make those nice and small, giving me some space over here on the right. Now I can select all of this and drag it over and put what I want on the left. There's no need. Let's have a quick look. Everything displays. Great. Now what I want to do in this space, I want to create an option group. Now the option group is up here, this XYZ option group. As soon as I click on that and I draw a rectangle, I should get this dialog box, this wizard. If you do not, so I'm going to demonstrate that. What you need to do is click, delete it, click on this little drop down where the controls are, and you've got this in here, use control wizards. If that is not selected, then when you do this, you don't get that wizard appearing. Okay, so make sure you have that selected. And now when I draw this, I have my wizard. So the next thing it wants is, what are the label names? Well, it wants asthma, diabetes, eczema, epilepsy, and none. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to next. Now, do you want a default choice? So the first one it will choose is asthma. You don't have to. You can just put, no, I don't want a default. Whether you do or whether you don't, it doesn't really matter. Personally, I would put this. That would make sense. So you only add something if somebody has an ailment. But yeah, leave it at that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't say. So I'm just going to put it on none. Okay, let's go to next. Okay, and can you see here that the values that it's going to say when you choose, for example, asthma in the option group is going to be the number 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on what you choose. So these values, because it's an option group, it only saves numbers. And this is why when we made that ailment ID, we gave it the data type number. You cannot save text. If I was to try and say, if I wanted to save the text, for example, asthma, and I go down, you can see I get an error message. You can't. It isn't valid for an option group or radio buttons. So I'm just going to change that back to 1. You can change the numbers. For example, I can use 7 because that's, you can have option groups, they actually store numbers. I'm just going to leave it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to next. Save the value for later use. Now, store the value in this field. I want to store it inside ailment ID, and now it's available here. I'm also going to show you how to do this, even if you're going to put the ailment ID later. Let's say you didn't create the field, you wanted it to add it later. Go to next, and here you can choose what your buttons will look like. So you can use checkboxes, toggle buttons. I'm going to leave it with option buttons because it did actually say one option group. And in the description, if I read carefully, it said, you know, that text that was in italics, will contain radio buttons. So these are actually radio buttons because they're the more classic ones. It doesn't matter. Next and finish. So here is my option group. Okay. The next thing I want to do is it says it wants all labels to the left. So you can see here I've got last name to the left of the data, first name to the left of the data. So I'm just going to click this one here that says frame 19, put that to the left. Now to do this, what I did there, I took that the thick gray button. If you simply click on the orange, it moves the option group with you. Okay, so if you want to move the separate objects, the title and the option group, you need to click on the thick gray square, and that will just move that object there. And I'm going to call this, the label is ailment. Okay, so that's what it wants. Okay, make sure that the radio buttons are grouped. They are. Option selected, stored in element ID. It is. All labels in the form aligned. Okay. Placing your evidence document screenshots showing the radio buttons grouped as one group with the label element. Evidence of your method of linking the group to the element ID field. Okay, so if I click on this box here, it selects the whole option group. If I right click on that and go to properties, I see the properties. Okay. If I go to the data, you can see that's where the control source is, element ID. That's my evidence that anything that I've selected from here is going to be stored in the element ID field. Okay. If you hadn't created the element ID field and you created it later, then you could have this deleted like that. Okay, so that's fine. So right now, if I go to view, this isn't saving anything anywhere. Okay, I could go back to now my table, doesn't matter about that, create my new field, and then I can go back to my form, click on that box, right click, make sure the properties are there, and for the control source, I'm going to choose the element ID. Okay, so you can do it either way around. That's my next screenshot. So I'm just going to take this part here. I don't need all of that form there, just that part there, which is showing this group here. They're all grouped together. There is my label on the left. And with this selection, that's saving in the control source element ID. So we're going to go and add that, number 16. Just see. So the radio buttons grouped as one option group with the label owner. Evidence of your method of linking the group to element ID. And look at that. All of that is 6 marks. That's a lot of marks. Okay. Use the form modified in step 16 to add the following data as a new record in the child table. Check your data entry for errors. Save the data. Place in your evidence document a screenshot of the form with the new record displayed in full. So let's do this. So that's all done. I can click on save. I can now go to normal view, and now I can use my form. Now this food allergy, I'm going to give you a slight bonus tip here. So let's say it wanted you to modify, because this could be a future question, the food allergy to be a drop-down list box or radio buttons. Right now I have to type the word yes and no manually. That's not really good for data validation. So I'm going to do this as a bonus for you now. So what you would do, I will get rid of that food allergy, delete that. I would choose, I'm just going to make my form just a little bit bigger there. Choose this one here, the combo box, draw a rectangle. I'm going to type the values I want next. So the values I want are going to be yes. Now, you don't have to do this in this exercise. This is just a bonus in case this is the type of question that's asked later in the future. Then I'm going to go to next. Store that value in the field food allergy, because that's where we want it. Next. And then just click finish. Now I'm just going to drag that square there to align it. That should be called food underscore allergy. Always check the question paper. Click on this one, make sure that's aligned as well. Okay. And now if I have a look, you can see, oh, look, it's giving me true, false here. So it's displaying true, false instead of yes, no. So let's go fix that. So if I click on that and go to the properties, the row source, data, format. So if I go to the format, you see it says true, false. I want that yes, no. Now if I save and go over here, there you go, yes, no. And I can choose yes, no from here, right? So you didn't have to do that. That was just a bonus in case they asked you to change an existing field to something else. That's how you do it. All right, so for our question, we want to add this entry. So at the bottom here, I could click on this new blank record here. I could also quickly add a button here if I want and make that record operation, add a new record, next, leave it as text and finish. And now I can click on this. Or I could click on this button down here, as I said, the one with the little yellow star or sun. That would take you to the new record. If I go back, or you can just click on the button, that will do the same thing. So I'm going to add the information in there, Lambert, Jakara. That is, let me just get that as text. Remember to type everything exactly as it's seen. This is female. The date. That's the DOB. And then the reg date. Control C. And then food allergy, eczema. Oh, so it does food allergy, yes. And then it's got eczema. Okay, now, has this data been added in yet? Well, just to make sure, I'm just going to go back one and then forward one, and I can see my data is there. So that's perfect. So what I want to do now is placing evidence, a screenshot with this displayed. So I'm now going to take a screenshot of the entire thing like that with my data displayed, and that goes in number 17. Wow, this is a long paper. Okay, and then we're going to go save and go to the next one. So the next part of the paper is open the child table, okay, use an automated selection method to locate the new record you entered in step 17 with the child ID that. Place in your evidence document screenshot showing the use of an automated selection method to find the record, the new record stored in the child table with all 11 fields displayed. 11 fields displayed. Okay, so that will be the 11 columns. Okay, so that's just a simple filter. But again, this is new. This is new, guys. This is what I'm saying. This is a tricky paper. So I'm finished with this. I can close that. Do I want to save? Yes. I'm going to open the child table, and I want to find the child with a ID 3YR27. So here's the child ID. I'm going to click on this little drop down arrow here, and I'm going to do a text filter equals to, and I'm going to type the ID 3YR27. Click OK. Now that's actually going to be my custom filter. That's what I want to show my automated filter. And there it is there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fields. That's to adding in. So these are the 11 fields. And I want to show this, but I also want my automated filtering method. So I'm just going to click on that. Click on that again, text filter equals, and I'm just going to put that in my screenshot as well. Okay, and let's take that screenshot there. We take the field name, we take the table name at the top as well, and take all of that. So this is showing me the automated filter method here and the 11 fields which make up that record. there. So we take that and put that there. Make it just a bit bigger. Okay. Then I've got one more evidence document. Okay, let's see where we are. Right, presentations. We finished with the database. So now we can go back, we can close our database and everything, make sure everything is saved. So I'm just going to click OK here, get rid of that filter, clear the filters, save everything, close my table and close the database. And now I can go back and start my presentation. So remember, I told you this is a long paper and a tricky paper. So you're going to create the short presentation. All slides must have a consistent layout and formatting. So that looks like a master slide. Create a presentation of 8 slides using this file here. Unless otherwise instructed, the slides must display a title and a bulleted list. So let's go do that first. So from here, I'm going to go right click, new, PowerPoint. There we go. Just enter. I don't need to save the name. Okay, from here, we're going to go to new slide. We're going to go to the new slide. We're going to go slides from outline. And we're going to go and find our outline slides. So down here we go. So we want J2421 playgroup. There we go. And then we see we get a title and a bulleted list for all of them. Perfect. And I've got 8 slides as it said. Good. Number 20. Place at the top right of the slide a header with your name, center number, and candidate number. Place in the footer automated slide numbers left aligned. Make sure that the header and footer appear in the same position on every slide. No items overlap on any slide. So it's not telling you to use the master slide, but it's common sense because it's saying this information has to be on every slide. So it's actually asking you to use a little bit more of your common sense. So we're going to go to view, or your knowledge basically. Slide master, and remember we need to go to the very top and we need to modify this one. This is the one up here, the master slide, which affects all of the slides, all the child slides underneath it. So from here I want to add top right slide with the header with your name, center number, and candidate number. So from here I'm going to go to insert. I want a text box. I'm just going to draw a text box at the top right corner there. Type my details. And I can also align that to the right so it looks more to the right. And that's perfect. And then underneath that, place in the footer automated slide numbers left aligned in the footer. The header and footer, so it doesn't say where, center number, candidate number. Place in the footer automated slide numbers left aligned. So I'm going to put that on the left. I'm going to get rid of these placeholders here. I never use them. People ask me, why don't you use them? They work. They do sometimes, and sometimes they cause issues. So I prefer using a simple text box. It's just easier, and you have control of what that thing is doing. Now, from here, I want in that text box, I want to add my page number. Okay. So from here, I've got that here. Here it is, that little icon there. Now, might look different on yours because I've got my screen zoomed in to make everything bigger. So I'm just going to put a page number. And now if I go to view, normal, I should see my details at the top, the page number, and the incrementing page number at the bottom. Perfect. Works. Let's go back to the question paper. So placing the footer, make sure that right. Locate the slide with the title Our Staff. Select the 3 bulleted items after the text Center Manager, and format them to look like this. So we want these ones here. These ones here, we want to make them look like that. So what do we notice here? Well, first of all, we see that they are indented. They use a minus sign or something similar for the bullet. They are italic. Okay, and quite indented to where that D is in the word dedicated. So let's go do that. So first of all, we're going to identify that list. Here it is, our staff. We're going to select these 3 here. Okay, and format them to look like this. Now, the other thing I notice here is these have got line spacing. This one doesn't, but it doesn't say to add line spacing on these or format these, but I'm going to do it anyway to look exactly like this. So they can't take marks away if they haven't specifically asked you to do something. So first step is I'm going to select these three. I'm going to go to here and I'm going to increase the indent. So that pushes all of that in. And I'm going to increase it a bit more because I want it to come to the next D. There, can you see? So that's a double indent. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify bullets and numbering. I'm going to customize that. And I'm going to find the little minus sign. There you go. That one will do. Click OK and OK. And there you go. And that's underneath the D. Okay. And that looks good. And the last thing is that has to be italic. I hope I'm not missing anything here. Now, the next thing is I'm going to make all of these single line spacing with no space after because that's what the picture looks like. So I'm just going to go to paragraph. Now, I don't think you have to do this, but before and after is going to be 0. And I'm going to put here single line spacing. Click OK. And now that, if I bring that in, can you see that single line spacing? That's italic. That looks good. Perfect. Okay. Right. Delete the slides with the titles Our Guiding Principles and Areas of Learning and Development. That one and that one. So I'm going to hold the control button to select both. Delete them. You can do them one by one. Number 23, use the data in the file J2421 test scores to create a vertical bar chart to compare achievement for only the subjects literacy and mathematics. Display the subjects, so literacy and mathematics, as labels on the category axis. So the category axis or the x-axis should be the subjects, literacy and mathematics. Wow, this is a really heavy paper, guys. Okay, so I'm just going to open up here. I'm going to open that. I want J2421 test. J2421, that one there, the test scores. And here's my table. All right, let's just make that a bit smaller. So what I'm going to do here is this. The first thing I always say, and you don't have to in this particular table, but it's really important if you've got numbers for headings, delete that top left corner of that table. You don't need it, okay? So I'm just going to select all of this, first of all. With that top left corner deleted, I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to create a vertical bar chart like this. Then I only want to have science and literacy. Oh, no, literacy and mathematics. So I'm going to right click on my table. There are other ways of doing this. You can use the control button and I'll do, but this is the easiest way. Select data and now you can choose what you want. I don't want science. Click OK and look at that. So if you want to change around what's displayed, it's very easy this way. Literacy and mathematics are on my category axis, because if they weren't, I can click on the switch row and it would put the preschool and non-preschool. But I want like that. All right, vertical bar to compare achievement for only subject literacy and mathematics. Display the subjects as labels on the category axis. Then it says, label the chart with the title this. So I'm just going to copy that because I've got this in electronic form. You would have to type it out and be very careful with that. So I'm just going to double click on the title and paste that there. Label the chart with that. We've done that. Display the following values only as data labels along the top of each bar. A legend showing preschool and no preschool. Okay, so let's go do that first. So values on the top. So even if this area here wasn't available, we'll just get rid of it for now. If I go to plus and add data labels, it will add the labels at the top. If you wanted something else, you could click on that little arrow there, go to more options, that opens the property. You can choose what it's going to add at the top, okay, for each series. So we've done that. The legend is this thing down here. It says it only wants preschool and no preschool, and we have that already. And the reason they said that is because if you hadn't deleted this here, it might, if these were numbers or whatever, it might delete another part of the legend here and it will have whatever was in this title up here in A2. Okay, that's that done. Format the value axis scale to display 0, minimum, maximum 56, increment of 8. So for this, I'm going to click one time on this axis, on my axis scale, and then I'm going to right click on it, format axis, and from here I want the minimum 0, the maximum 56, and the major units 8. And if I click away, we can see we start from 0, increment in 8, all the way up to 56. All right, let me just make sure I haven't forgotten anything, because I tend to do some mistakes every so often. So here we go. So we've done that. Display the subject labels, label the chart with the title that, display the following values dated labels on the top of each bar, a legend showing the preschool, no preschool, only, and that. So that's it. So now I can go back. I can right click on this, copy, go to my PowerPoint, and it says to place it in the chart, place the chart to the left of the bullets on the slide with the title Academic Performance. This one here. So it wants it on the left. So I'm going to click on this, squish that over here for a sec, make some space, paste my chart, put it in there, make it as big as possible. So without it overlapping anything, making sure nothing is hidden and everything is visible. Good. And if we have a look now, it says, so place the chart to the left of the academic format, make sure that no words are split, all data and labels are fully visible, the chart and its contents do not overlap any slide items. Perfect. How much more is there on this thing? Wow. Okay, on the slide with the title Long-Term Benefits, create an arrow-shaped action button that looks like this. So black outline, white in the middle. Position this in the bottom right corner. Format the action button so that when clicked, it opens the document with the file name. That. Enter the text lifelong gains in black font on the action button. Make sure that the text displays on one line, the text fits within the shape and does not overlap the border. Take a screenshot evidence showing the action button links to the correct file. Place this in your evidence document. Make sure that the file name is fully visible. Okay, let's go over here. So we want now long-term benefits. Here it is here. So on the bottom right, arrow shape, create an arrow shape button that looks like this. Position at bottom right corner. So I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Shapes. Now it says Action Button. Now the action buttons are at the bottom down here, but it doesn't have an arrow like that. So I'm just going to choose a right-facing arrow. I'm going to draw one big enough to hold the text Lifelong Gains. With my arrow selected, I'm going to choose an outline like this. It's actually got it a little bit thicker, so I can do the shape outline just a little bit thicker. That'll do. That's a thicker one. And then I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to edit the text. It says to add lifelong gains. Lifelong gains. And it should fit on one line in black text. So that's that. And then it wants this to be an action button to link to the file j2421lifelong.csv. So again, I'm going to right click on that. You've got this thing here called link. And you can link, you can see here, existing file or web page, placing this document. So that's like clicking to jump to another slide in the PowerPoint, create a new document or to an email address. Okay, so I've got a tutorial on PowerPoint that covers all of this. Go look at my playlists. I want existing file. And the file I want is j2421 lifelong. This one here. Is it open the folder? Click OK. And now I want to show evidence. So there's two ways I can show evidence. So if I click on this, if I run this, Shift F5, and I click on that, it will open that file. So it works. Okay. So let's just press Escape and open my PowerPoint. So if I want to show that I've done this image, but I've also got the link, if I put my mouse over here, it actually shows you here, control click to follow, and it shows you the file. That's a bit tricky. So you're going to have to take a screenshot or take a delayed, I'll show you a quick delay shot. So if I go to here and click on my snipping tool, click on the timer and put 3-second delay, quick screenshot, place my mouse here and wait. There you go. Now I just got there just in time. I can take a screenshot of that. I don't like that method. I prefer this method. Right click, let's do it differently, sorry. Right click, edit link. Okay, and you can have this image here that shows where it's going to go to existing file and take a screenshot of that. That's just so much easier than fiddling around with everything else. Let's go add that in my evidence document. Bring that down to step 28. It's the last one. There we go. Save. Now we can go back. So I've done all of this, linked to that file, entered that text, displays on one line, does not overlap, take the screenshot, save the presentation. Print the full presentation as handouts in portrait orientation with 2 slides to the page, each filling half the page. Okay, again, this is another tricky one. So it's not your standard. Let's go over here. We're going to go to File, Print, close that, File, Print, and let's see what this thing wants now. So I want two slides, portrait orientation. There you go. So well, it's not a tricky one. It's actually pretty basic. So I want this in portrait orientation, 2 slides to a page, filling half the page. So that's it. So I will print that. I've got my PDF printer, but you will simply print that. It will print to your printer, and you just need to make sure everything is there and print perfectly. Okay, and it's readable. So now I can go back. What do we have? Finally. Okay, make sure that your name, center number, and candidate number appear on every page of your evidence document. Save your evidence document and print your evidence document. Okay, so let's just jump over here. So we will now go to our evidence document. Here it is here. There are all the pages. Okay, make sure you don't have any blank pages. And I can make sure that my name, ooh, is my name up there? Where is it? I can't see it. I didn't add my information at the top. There you go. I forgot to do that. So I'm just going to click up here. I thought I did do it. Probably did. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. So make sure it appears on every page of your evidence document. Save your evidence document, create evidence document. So if you don't have your details at the top of the evidence document, then you are in trouble because you will get no marks. Job done. That was a nasty paper. Now, I liked it. It was a tricky paper. I like that kind of paper, but you saw there was a lot of new elements in this paper. The option buttons in Access, it was just a lot. The table in Word, making sure the size was 13, the height of the cells. So a tricky paper there for you guys. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you learned something new from this video, you know the drill. If you're taking the exam at some point, good luck to you. But if you did learn something new, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.